Welcome, Pirate fans, to our fourth episode of Pirate Classics Pregame with our head football coach, Steve Mooshagian, and today we have a special guest, our defensive coordinator, Michael Haydon. We're going to start our fourth game with the 2018 home opener against Saddleback. When we look at that game, Saddleback's always been one of our rivals in a sense. We're both ranked high. We're coming off of 2017 where we lose in the state playoff in the SoCal part of it. And what's the outlook football-wise? What are we looking at, offensively and defensively for 2018?
I think we had a lot of shoes to be filled, so we were putting in a lot of young players. We had just beaten Orange Coast in a game that was a lot closer than we wanted it to be. But a lot of that had to do with penalties and turnovers, and that game could have been 40-10. It ended up being 24-20. Just everything bad that could have happened. So we figured we needed to fix all those things. We had some holdings, on defense, and we had some drop balls and things, and we were still struggling to find who our quarterback was. So we were still going back and forth. We actually played 3 in game 1, and we kind of put it down to 2 with Jay Vanderjack and Brock Doman. And after having 2 Division I transfers or 3 Division I transfers in the program, this was the first year we were going with some gray shirts, guys that hadn't had any experience. So we knew it was going to take time. We're going to have to rely on our defense and our run game because we knew we had the running backs. We knew we had the offensive line. And we had some receivers, but it was just a matter of getting the ball to them.
Well, Mike, Coach Moose brings up the defense. What was the outlook for the defense coming into 18?
Yeah, it was like Coach said, we had a lot of shoes to fill. We signed a lot of guys out the year before. We weren't necessarily young as far as age goes, but we were pretty young as far as experience goes. We had a lot of new starters out there. I think our most veteran group was our linebackers, to be completely honest. But it was continue to roll with what we were doing. We had switched our defense 2 years prior, so we really felt like we had a grasp on what we wanted to do, and we felt like we finally had the guys to do what we wanted to do. And like Coach said, in that first game against Orange Coast, it was a battle. Maybe it shouldn't have been as close as it was, but we made a lot of football IQ mistakes. That's what we like to call them, where just inexperienced guys make inexperienced plays. And like any coach can tell you, for game 2 against Saddleback, the biggest thing for us was we had to make that jump. Your biggest improvement's always from week 1 to week 2. So we knew we had a challenge ahead of us, and we were excited about it, though. We were excited about our guys and how they worked.
So we have the football aspect moving from 17 to 18, first home game. But now you throw in the emotional part. That off season, a Ventura College football alumni. He was an assistant coach at the time. Brenden Daley passes away tragically. How did that? What brought that to the team? How was that atmosphere? We had Brenden. He always brought a smile to everyone's face. He was energetic. The players, the coaches, everyone loved him. How was that? We're going to retire his number that day. His parents going to be here, his family's going to be here. What did that bring to our home opener?
Well, it brought a ton of emotion. It was really tough because I remember Brenden, made it to the Riverside game and was on the sideline with us. He had he'd been our strength coach during the spring, so a lot of those guys on that 17 team knew him well. And he had an opportunity to go play arena football. And so he stepped away from coaching, went and played arena ball, and got back and got into town and came to our game. And, he had all intentions of coming back and coaching with us, but wanted to see how we were doing. And that's, the last time we all saw him. He passed away 4 days later and, left a hole in the hearts of the Pirate faithful. He was my first captain and kind of the guy that made my job easy in 2010. Without him, it would have been a lot tougher getting hired late and not being there till July. And Brenden just made the transition so smooth for us. He was special in so many ways, and we miss him even today.
Yeah. And Mike, you worked with him working on the defensive side. What did that change, or did it change anything from your end?
Yeah, it definitely was a special day for us. When you talk about, your prototypical football player, doing everything right, that captain, like Coach mentioned, I mean, that was Brenden Daley. He put his heart and soul into everything that he did, whether it was his reading, learning a word for the day, his football, whatever he did. And so for us, we really tried to emphasize, the best way to honor him is to play the way that he played, which was relentless, 100%, a loving teammate, a caring friend. And we really wanted to honor him that way. It was tough because the beginning of the game, there is so many emotions, when you start thinking back on all the great things and how we touched everybody's life. It wasn't just one person, it was everybody. So, it was really important for us to go out there and play the way that he did. And I think we really started to see that in the second half of that game against Saddleback.
Right. So we get to the game offensively. Let's start on the offensive side. Overall, a really good offensive game. But let's talk about how he came out early in that first half offensively. How did that look, and what was the game plan that we had there?
Well, I think the big thing for us was to establish the run game and then get some easy throws to just get the nerves out of the quarterback situation. And, we went with Jay, and then, we'd let him go a couple series, and we'd put Brock in and he'd go a couple series, and we were just trying to find ourselves. I mean, we had Brandon Jordan, who was a big target, at receiver, and we had Thomas Duckett, who played really well for us at running back, along with great depth there. And then we had that offensive line, with Dane Nelson and Mason Knight. And gosh, I'm trying to think all the guys, Breslin, and there's like 6 of them. They all went on to play Division I football. And, we lost a couple too that year that went Division I, but we had good solid backups, and those guys learned a lot from the 17 team. So that was our most experience, and we had to rely on them. We had to lean on them. And I believe it was Jeff Fisher's first year of calling plays. So he was still trying to get to know our guys, and he wasn't really sure yet. I remember at the quarterback position, it changed daily with that. And I know that was frustrating for Mike and the defensive guys, but we knew we had good depth. We just didn't have, like Mike said, great experience over there. But they seemed to come up and make big plays for us, and we did what we had to do. I remembered a lot of it. I remember being up 27-13, and then we let them score one late. And then we thought we were looking up at the flag, and Daley wore number 27. And so we thought the game was going to end with 27. And then Haydon Neese broke one late to make it 34-19. So it was a hard fought game. Definitely was.
So in the first half, Mike, as defensive coordinator, you're watching kind of go back and forth, right? Not a lot of scoring on both sides. What's your motivation or mentality with the defensive end to keep the game close, or if we took a lead, to keep us in the lead in that first half?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for us was playing fundamentally sound football. If you look at Saddleback's offense, they do a lot of things to try and put you in bad situations. There'll be a team who, off that zone read, they'll roll out their quarterback, and that quarterback's still looking to throw. So for us, it was very much, hey, we have to play assignment football, and we have to play fundamentally sound. One of the things that we really try and pride ourselves on is, especially in that first half, is really trying to decipher what the teams are trying to do against us. And we looked out at, out there, and we felt like it was a game of one-on-one matchups, and we felt like we could win those. Jalen Watson coming off an All-American year, we felt like we could lock him down with any of their wide receivers. Guys like Kel Jackson, Danye Dixon, Ahmad Jallo, Chris Henry. We felt good on the back end that we could play some man-to-man. So the big thing for us was, how do we create that pressure? So we found some different packages and different personnel groupings to get some pressure up front, and we knew that they were going to score points. Football is not the same as 1980. If we can hold a team underneath 24 points, we feel like we can win every single game. And we got an offense, and Coach mentioned it with Coach Fish, but, they helped us out a ton too, because they were able to run the football and keep us off the field and allowed us to make the adjustments that we needed.
So we talk offense and scoring, and we can score a lot. Saddleback can score a lot. It's 13-13 going into half, and we're both going to come out. The adjustments, that the name of the game, making that second half adjustment. Let's talk about the offensive part first, and then we can talk about the defensive part if there was any adjustments on the defensive side. But offensively, what was talked about at halftime?
Well, we knew we couldn't rely just on the run game. We had to mix it up a little better, throw more on first down. And I think we started opening it up, and we went with Jay Vanderjack, and he had he finished out playing really, really well, and let us down to take the lead there. And we actually put in a couple scores. I think we were up like 27-13, and we had two really good drives, and the defense had given us the ball back a few times. But we mixed in the run and the pass much better in the second half. I think we got the nerves out. We didn't know it at the time that Jay had actually hit his thumb on one of Saddleback's defensive linemen's helmets. He continued to play the game, and then ended up, how ironic it was, is he ended up not being able to play the next week against Hancock, which gave Brock Doman the start. And the rest kind of was history, as we'll see going on with our 2018 season. But it's funny how those things play out. And really, for me, for the defensive side, the only part that I was worried about was our inexperience on our defensive line, because we had lost what I thought was our best defensive line talent-wise. He had 3 Division I guys that left. And you could, we talked about Kenny Turnier and Jesse Lemonnier earlier. Those guys are hard to replace. And so Mike did a great job of being more creative, using our linebackers and using a guy like Trenton Carlson, who was a bigger linebacker, and putting him on the edge and doing those kind of things. So when we got up 27-13, I felt pretty good. But then I also knew that this was Saddleback, and our games against them have always been, it's not over till it's over. So I just kind of, when we got the ball back at 27-19 and just grounded it out and then got that last score, I looked up at that flag, that Daley 27, and I felt good. I felt comfortable, and I said, God, no way we're going to screw this one up. We got to win this.
So we talk about the defense, like the first half, you're throwing up, I'll use the baseball thing. You're throwing a pretty good game. You want to close it out. What's the mentality with this younger group playing in a pretty big game, a lot riding on it, not just with this Saddleback, but with Brenden? What was the message to them going into the second half?
Yeah, so one of the things that Brenden brought to our team is he always instilled competition in everything that he did in the weight room or conditioning. There was always some sort of competition. So we went in at halftime and we had a couple of things that we talked about. The first one was obviously we had to eliminate the big play. We had gave up some deep passes. I believe we gave up a touchdown early on a miscommunication where they ran a post and we didn't have anyone covering them. So the first thing was to eliminate the big play. The second thing was just harping on what Brenden always harped on, competing with yourself, competing against the competition, everything. Every situation that we were in, we were competing. And what came along with that is some mental toughness. As far as some of the X's and O's go, we decided that, when we watched that first half, their quarterback, he was good. He was mobile. He got out of the pocket. I know one of their big wide receivers was out for that game too. So we decided, our big thing is let's try and get that quarterback out of the pocket, but let's make him run more than he wants to throw. He was always running to throw. And so we wanted to make him run to run. And what we saw is we were able to create a little bit more, pin our ears back, like Coach said. We were able to find a little bit faster lineup up front. Got Trenton at DN. Brett Moyer came in. We used Corey Owen on the inside, and Brad Taylor and DeAndre Baker just played an absolute stellar game. I think Brad Taylor had a 1.5 sacks, 10 tackles that game, blocked an extra point, which was huge for us, put a lot of pressure on them in the field goal game, and they missed a couple field goals as well. So, it was just that mentality of, hey, this is what a Pirate defense is, and this is how we play, and let's find ourselves this half. That was the big thing. And it was a big second half for us, and all the credit goes to the guys because they just worked their tail off to do those things.
So when we look back at this game, because we know the end story of 2018, can we say that this may have been like that start of that feeling like we got something special here, right? We're dealing with Brenden Daley's. It's a mix of young and old. We're doing some different things. Maybe at the end of this one, we win the game, relief, because it's Brennan's night and we want to win for Brenden. But overall, now that we know the end of the story, do you think this could have been, is this the turning point maybe in this season, or is this the start of it?
I think it brought the team together. I think it was the chemistry builder. It validated our culture of what our coaches and what our program's about. And I think it led us into the fourth quarter of the Hancock game, which everything went wrong. The officiating, we had every call go against us, fumbles that we recovered that weren't given to us, touchdowns called back, and we found a way to win together on like the last play of the game or near the last play of the game. And I think the combination of Saddleback gave us the confidence that we can beat anybody, because this has been a playoff team through the course of the last 3 or 4 years too. And so that was really, it was a confidence thing. And then the Hancock game kind of got us on a roll, and then it kind of led, the rest of the way. We still had stubbed our toes a couple times getting there with a young team and made some mistakes, but I think our team grew. Like Mike said, we got so much better in game 2 from game 1 that it made a huge difference. But I believe it was a culture and chemistry game that brought us together.
How about you, Mike? What did you feel after this game?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything that Coach Moose said. One of the things, though, that I think is important to remember for us at the time is we were still so young. And, I mean, when you go back and you look at the last 8 years, Ventura College has played one of the toughest schedules year in and year out. And we do that for a reason, because we want to see what our guys are built of. These preseason games, these first 5 games, man, they're so important because you're playing such high-level competition that you're really trying to figure out who you are. And I think what Coach said, really hits the nail on the head is no matter who we were, we knew we were together. That camaraderie really came. And I think that's something that was so special about that 18 team is, man, throughout the entire year, offense, defense, special teams, I mean, it was a tight-knit group. And I think that's where we really started to see it was in the second half of that Saddleback game.
Well, we're going to have a few more of these 2018 Pirate Classics. It was a magical year. Mike, thank you for coming on today for the show. Coach Moose, always a pleasure to have you on. Fans, remember on the Crown Plaza VC Sports Network, Saturday night, 6 p.m., 2018 home opener versus Saddleback College. It'll be a start of a great last 6 weeks of this fall semester to prime us for the 2021 football season. So thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.